We are recording our, which is this, our 18th session?
No, 19th, I think.
19th session of Producing in Age of Pandemic. We will be beginning our session in approximately 4 minutes. We are just giving participants a moment to enter our digital space. As you can see right now, we are sharing communication agreements. We're mostly sharing these as an example of a great way to begin your digital gathering on the same page. We'll begin in about 4 minutes. Feel free to chit chat amongst yourselves.
Out of curiosity, when do you think we'll break out? I have to leave at 10:30 and then come, like kind of come in whenever I can. Is it going to be like right after intros?
I believe we will be doing screen. I was going to invite the Kiko share.
Oh, that's right.
And then we'll do the Mentimeter little experiment, and then we'll do the jumping off into separate sessions. Well, the breakout rooms.
Cool.
Unless something exciting happens in the intros and I change everything.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
We'll be beginning in just 1 minute. Hey, Dani, I'm going to invite you to stop sharing your screen, and I'm going to get us started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Producing in Age of Pandemic. This is our 19th session together. We are recording this session to keep it accessible asynchronously. We are a group of folks who are primarily located in the United States and Canada, so we've got some beautiful international participation. We're going to begin by introducing ourselves and giving a quick international survey of what's happening in the world of producing in pandemic. So please share where you are in the world. We do a decolonized process, so if you can also do a land acknowledgement, we invite you to. If you need help figuring out how to do a land acknowledgement, there should be a link in our shared notes. We practice horizontal leadership, so please enter the notes and help to make sure those notes reflect what you are saying, and also drop your links in so that we can also reshare them to other spaces and support your digital producing and digital work. So we're going to invite you to introduce yourself, where you're coming from, gender pronouns. We do an access check-in just to let folks know if there's anything folks need to know so that this space can be as accessible as possible for y'all. And then we ask you to share what are you working on? What are you producing? And did you have a discovery or a challenge this week? And it might be that you didn't actively produce something, you witnessed a different production and had a learning from that. We are trying to use our time well together. So if you don't feel like you have a valuable offering, don't feel like you have to fill space. That's not necessary. This is just an invitation for you to share what you'd like to share with us. So I will give an example. I am Claudia Alick, gender pronouns, they, their, she, hers. You can use those interchangeably, speaking to you from the land of the Ohlone people. The people are still alive, Bay Area. And I had an amazing week, actually, where we had a successful test of where we stress test a digital system with a group of folks from all over. And that was me also testing, is this a production model that I could use where I have a random group of collaborators who meet on the fly to test, can you actually do this work with a larger group of random collaborators? So that test was marvelous and felt really, really joyful. And I'm still working on finding the magic captioning solution. So those are the things that I've been obsessed with this week. Check. Oh, also, I have been I am still in the middle of some kind of horrible pain flare. So if you see me pull a face or something, it's just my muscles being twingy. Other than that, I've got my coffee and my granola bar, so all of my access needs are met. Oh, and we are going to be just queuing up in the chat. So just drop your name in the chat and that's how we'll order ourselves. So I'm gonna hush now, check.
I can go next. I'm Dani Bay, she, her pronouns. Same Bay Area, land of the Ohlone people. Admin producer for Calling Up Justice. My access needs are met. I might get some granola and yogurt in like 2 seconds because I'm super hungry. And I don't really have any challenges or discoveries. I saw a lot this week. We did the hackathon, like Claudia said. We saw an OBS 101. That was really awesome. I just recently watched the Aurora Gala that they did virtually, which was really cool. So hoping to maybe reach out to them to see if they can come in here, because that combines like fundraising and virtual and OBS systeming. So hopefully to bring some of that knowledge into this group. That's all I got. Check. I think I'm gonna hand it over to Rebecca.
Thank you, Dani. Rebecca Ennels, she, her pronouns. I'm zooming in from the Ramaytush Ohlone land, now known as the San Francisco Peninsula. And I was a participant in the OBS workshop, mind blown, but also much, much more to do. My colleagues, John Bernard and Elizabeth Carter, were there with me. We all agreed that what we would really like is some one-on-one coaching, which our TD, Neil Ormond, who one day I will get into this group, could also give. And that's a transition to say that we opened our fully virtual King Lear this weekend, which is done on Zoom through OBS, all the actors' bodies layered so it looks like they're in a movie together with backdrops. Minds were blown. We had audience from all over the world, including like sitting in India in the middle of the night watching, which was so awesome to get some family members of company watching from India and England and all over the globe. And we had a great engagement event last night where we were able to have a Zoom with artists and audience in the same space, kind of sharing like, whoa, how did you do that? And what's it like and everything else. So feeling really like it was a really big success. Also prepared for a lot of people to have a lot of questions, and trying to figure out how to best create open source ways for people to share that, for Neil, for Elizabeth to share their experience, but also make sure that they get paid to do that work because they did a lot of work. Yeah, we've got some screenshots. I'll see if I can share some screenshots of that, because we do have some that are, you know, totally equity approved that I can kind of send around. So might be able to do that. Let me tweak a little during this meeting. But otherwise, I'm grateful to this group because I don't think I would have had the guts to take that huge risk if I hadn't started meeting with this group really early on, and saying like, no, this is totally possible. We can do virtual theater shut up people at bigger institutions saying that we're all supposed to be like on a big old Zen hiatus and not do anything. And I'm really glad we didn't listen to that kind of point of view. So yeah, that's me. Thanks, everyone. I'm not sure who's after me. Peter.
Thank you. Everything Rebecca just said about being able to do what we're doing in this new frontier. Peter Friedrich, he, him, his, calling from Jackson, Mississippi, Choctaw land. I do stand and sit a lot. That's just some new fun pain I'm experiencing physically, and maybe just a little bit of anxiety as well. So I'm shy about talking what I'm working on until I know it's going to be a little more successful, but there's exciting conversations going on with new technology and more opportunities for racial equity and rapid advancement of new theater technicians of color. And access needs are met. Check.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Mario Mars Wolf. You can call me Mars. I use they, them pronouns. I am a writer and a stage manager, usually in the New York area. I believe land of the Lenape people. But now I'm currently in Central Florida, land of the Seminole people. Right now I'm working on a digital project. It's kind of like, it's turning into a short film, a digital salon called Decipher. And it's Black and brown multidisciplinary artists presenting various works in their mediums that are in response to the moment right now. And one of the challenges with that is editing, and I'm used to producing live theater, so like the digital medium is new, so lots of challenges to explore with that. And my access needs are met.
Hi, folks. Tanya here. I use they, them pronouns. I'm calling in from what's colonially known as Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The traditional land keepers here are the Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, the Petun, the Mississauga of the Credit, and Anishinaabe people. And we are on Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt territory, which I recently saw a flag for, and I hadn't seen that before. In part of unsettling my process here as a poet, taking part in spoken word, supporting the Toronto Poetry Slam. We recently had our 9th show online last night. So it keeps going where we figure out new things, and we're also doing some skill sharing between folks to be able to skill build across the poetry collective. Where the poets and organizers are all learning how to take this uncomfortable space and host what we do in real life, offline, online. And I'll be sharing a little bit, tiny bit that I know about Kiko Chat while here on my lunch break. Glad to see all of you today, and I need to move around for my access needs. So you'll see me in and out of the screen. And I believe, who's after me? Is it Deborah?
Heather.
It's me.
Thank you, Dani.
Hi. Thank you, Tanya. Heather, she, her pronouns, zooming in from Ohlone Land, Berkeley. I consider myself a director primarily, but also an intimacy director in training, and now virtual theater practitioner in training. I attended, Discoveries, I attended the OBS workshop last Friday. Was it last Friday? It was so great. Thank you so much for hosting that and making that happen. And then I got to see King Lear last night. Congratulations, Rebecca. And I was one of the ones asking about that layering. Was that all done in OBS? It looked phenomenal. I hadn't seen that before. Access needs are met. I might change location or turn my camera off just because I'm in a house with a lot of people. And that's all. And Deborah, I think, is after me.
Thank you, Heather. Deborah Eliezer, she, her, Fool's Fury Theater in the Bay Area, calling in from San Diego, what is known as San Diego, and is also, I'm going to tell you right now, and I haven't memorized it yet because there's the land of the Luiseño, the Cahuila, the Cupeño, the Cumeyae, and Northern Diegueño are the ancestral lands here. I saw a couple, I missed you last week, but 2 weeks before I saw 2 amazing things. Sabinna Unni's and their Fresh Line Productions did a reading with like 10 different time zones and of a new play, and that was exciting to see. That I knew like maybe one person on that call. Over 100 people were calling in from 10 different time zones. That just kind of connection was amazing to me. Another very highly decolonized panel of like 5 Black theater makers, all women, for the Women's Theater Festival, that was also mind-blowing because of the decolonized way that they sort of had their discussion. They're like, we have no plan, y'all. This is just us doing our thing, talking about stuff. And that was really refreshing and beautiful because it reminded me that in the technological sphere, we're so much about like, well, it has to be scripted and we have to keep talking and this kind of thing, and we don't. So space, like I'm thinking a lot about space and time and how we use it in this manner. And then just lastly, ramping up production for Fool's Fury's Build From Here online convening for the Model of Ensemble Theater. Please, all of you come, being produced by the lovely Claudia Alick as guest festival director and myself. And that's just super exciting to finally center dialogue with a racial foundation that is in the field of ensemble. And that will be on the 12th and 13th of September. I'm a little bit cold. I might grab a sweater. My access needs are met otherwise, and happy to be here. Cheers. Check.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Hamilton. I use she, her, hers. I am coming to you from the beautiful traditional lands of the Becumtuck and Nipmuc people, which is now known as Belchertown, Massachusetts. I run the co-festival performance out of here. This week we have been offering a contemplative Tibetan-based meditation and creative writing workshop. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is I know a lot about in the live performance space, and the rehearsal space, how to maintain attention and focus and techniques to keep that going. It seems like that is different in many ways in the digital sphere. And so with the workshop, I've been wondering about, how long can people hold attention? When does closing eyes help? When does screen off on help? When does doing individual things apart together help? What are ways and what are people finding in terms of those structures? So if people have things to share on that, I'd be most interested. Access needs are met because I have my iced coffee. And I think Patricia's next.
Thank you, Sabrina. Patricia Miller. She or they in the Ramaytush part of the Ohlone people's land, known as San Francisco. I'm a freelance producer, blah, blah, blah. If you've all met me before. I'm also dealing with trying to transition about 5 classes that are live performance art skills to online platform, and also deal with some of the access needs of many, many students. Also decolonizing the syllabus in a very, very rigid institution. So I've appreciated some of the resources I've seen online, such as the alternative canon and etc. In terms of viewing, I was super challenged this weekend because there was so much going on. I couldn't see Lear. I couldn't get into the Allied Media Conference, which I was sad about. But I was really 100% dedicated to the new Playwrights Foundation. And they presented at least 5 shows. I saw 5 shows on a platform that Miss Ariella Wolf may well be speaking about, which was an excellent performance platform. And also wonderful, engaged, decolonized panel that, of course, Claudia Alick was centered in. or one of the satellites that we all centered around. I think that's about it. Trying to move to projects that are not performative groups. They're interdisciplinary social justice and spiritual groups, into a sense of we don't need to just make presentational material that we all sit passively and receive like Ibsen, but that an interactive space has emerged in the last 3 months. And I'm glad to hear what you had to say, Rebecca, about trying to like talk through the walls of folks that are expecting it to look like this instead of like this. And I believe Ariel is next.
So good. Okay, almost. My name is Ariella Wolf. I use she, her pronouns. I'm coming to you from the traditional lands of the Coast Miwok people in Novato, California. And I am an independent director, producer, educator. I'm having some like back and hip pain, so you might see me like rolling around on this exercise ball. But other than that, my access needs are met. I've been out for a couple weeks working as a production assistant on the Bay Area Playwrights Festival with Playwrights Foundation. And thank you again, Claudia, for your beautiful presence and co-production on the Decolonizing New Play Development panel on Saturday. Gosh, these past 2 weeks have really been a blur, but I will speak to what Patricia mentioned about the platform that the festival just really briefly was presented on. We had rehearsals and most of our gatherings on Zoom, but I was introduced for the first time through this festival to the Vmix platform, which, yeah, some of you are nodding, like maybe familiar with this. So the artists called into a platform which was run and managed by the festival producer, a fabulous artist and producer named Liana Keys. And so she was the one really making the magic happen. And then that was streamed to Vimeo, where there was, for most of the readings, an open chat where audiences could respond in real time to the work happening. And that was really exciting. And I'll also, side burner projects are trying to figure out how to get rights for shows streaming. And I know people have done that. And so I'm both trying to figure out who to reach out to ask for advice, and also in communication with my like supporting organization and trying to figure out how to get the ball rolling on a few things just to keep making art with people. So, yeah. Robin, I think, is next.
Yeah. Thank you, Ariella. Hi, I'm Robin. I am in on coastal Miwok and Ohlone lands, and a little mix of that. Access are being met, needs are being met. My pronouns she, her, hers. I work with Mountain Play. Currently, we're going to be looking into doing some direction. So finally getting out onto virtual sphere, and I'm very excited about learning about the Vmix. I actually talked to Regina Morones, who was in the Saturday reading, and she was saying that the platform worked out really, really well. And she's also tried, she was in the Playground Festival with working on Zoom, and yeah, so she was excited about that. So I'm excited to learn to see how that works out. Just did the OBS workshop on Friday. We have plans to talk about what the next step with that would be, but currently, like, super just easy peasy. It's just making the Alvin put this extraordinary like Google Drive together that has tons of resources, so we can we'll put that out there, send that on in an email to everybody, as well as a document that I was kind of going through and marking down all of the resources that were coming up in the discussion, and of course a copy to the videos for everybody to watch. But yeah, those are pretty much the big challenges and projects and stuff. And I have to click off at 10:30, but I'm going to try and jump back on as soon as I can. And yeah, yay.
I tend to not call on folks, but I feel like there might be a few voices we haven't heard from. I'm trying to cultivate a meeting style where folks don't have to introduce themselves if they don't want to, but there's always the weird affect of being unsure that you're accidentally leaving someone out. So I'm going to give us a moment of awkward silence to allow folks to unmute themselves and say, hi, hello, this is who I am, and this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm working on. Awkward silence, commence.
Hi, I'm Robert Scott Smith. I am in the lands of the Goshute and the Utes, known today as Salt Lake City, Utah. I am a professor of acting. I teach in a conservatory-style actor training program. I also have a theater company called Flying Bobcat, and I was introduced to this group through Margaret Kemp through the National Alliance of Acting Teachers. So I am on here to learn, to listen, to share with things that I've been seeing. I'm doing the ATHA conference, several other conferences, prepping for fall for our courses. So to be honest, I'm very overwhelmed today. So I probably will keep my video off, but I am here listening. My needs are being met by me keeping the video off today, just so I have a little bit, feeling a little more comfortable today. So thank you for letting me be a part of this group. And yes, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm Sabinna. Sorry, video's off. Also, my Wi-Fi is being spotty, but I'll turn it on if my Wi-Fi gets better, which I hope it will. I'm in New York or Lenape land, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm an actor and director, and I'm founder of a South Asian theater ensemble, which Deborah mentioned. Thank you. We just finished up a series on theater's resistance, focusing on anti-fascist plays about what's happening in the Indian context and also American and the diaspora. Yeah, so excited to finish that, and in the stages of, we just finished this, what's next for us? And I also am production assistant for Calling of Justice, so I'm here in capacity as that, and excited to be here as usual.
I think that's everyone.
I believe so. All right, my colleagues. First of all, just shout out for some of our internal practices, a shout out for the fact that we do relaxed meeting style. There is never any expectation that you should not be eating, should not be drinking, should have your camera on, that you should be performing engagement in some special way. You can participate in this meeting by not even being here. This is why we record and put them up on the website. We're trying to be as accessible as possible. So thank you for joining us at the level that you're able to join us. That's awesome. I'm realizing I did a bunch of things this week that I really should have mentioned in the intro. It was a very full week. So I put a link to Superfluxus, a Pivot Arts project. I think I just named it correctly. There's a link for it in the notes. I'm part of the Orchard Project's Liveness Labs, and they actually ended up doing a skill share where they let me see the back end. So we got all up in their WordPress, and I was looking at the code, and it's a lovely project that it is it a game? Is it a play? It's digital performance. I encourage you to experience it and reflect on it. And then if you have feedback for them, give them your feedback. But I think it's a really interesting project. And I was so pleased to be allowed to get all up in the bones of it. That's where I loved it. I'm like, show me your code. Show me your code. Big shout out for the Women's Theater Festival. And I wanted to name a platform that they had been using that hasn't been surfaced in our conversations, but I'd actually shared it in a very sloppy way with my team like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's called Sketch. I think I'm going to do a very sloppy screen share just to quickly show what I haven't practiced this, so I'm not sure what I'm sharing, but I thought real fast, we're just gonna, here we are in my notes. Hi, you're looking at my notes. I'm just going to go to Sketch. In fact, actually, can I just click on this button here? Oh, look at this. That's a link. Hey, boom. So here we are in the Sketch app or program where you can have all of your event live. I would want to hear from Johanna at the Women's Theater Festival. Is it North Carolina? I would love to hear from them directly to let us know, how did this work for them as an organizing platform for their entire 2-month festival or full month festival. I found it pretty darn accessible as a participant. So just sketch.com. Go ahead and check it out, and we will invite others who have actively used it to give us a more thorough report on how that went. Also, big shout out, yes, that was an amazing conversation that happened yesterday morning, 2 days ago. When did we do it? With the Bay Area Playwrights Foundation, Tara Moses, Annalisa Diaz, Madeline Zayed, just come on. It was such a good conversation. Mina Marita facilitated. So I put a link to their Bay Area Playwrights Foundation. I believe that they are archiving all of the talks on the site. I'm unsure if they are legally allowed to archive and share the plays. So this weekend, a lot of amazing new plays were shared, but I'm unsure how accessible they'll be asynchronously. But there's a link in the notes. Also, gigantic shout out for the Allied Media Conference that was so sold out, and it broke my heart in a million different ways because I wanted to get up in those rooms. The beautiful thing was that all of their plenary sessions were available, so they were streaming them on the front page of the site. So it felt like that thing where, I don't know about y'all, but back in the day when I was really poor and didn't belong to a large organization, I would just go to the hotel where they were having the big conference and lurk and like be in the lobby and maybe low-key sneak my way into a big conference room because nobody was paying attention, and you could get away with that. And this kind of felt like that type of participation with Allied Media. I'm unsure how asynchronously available their materials are. Please go to their site. Allied Media, they've been doing a conference every year, and that gathering is a gathering of the people who we should be learning from and listening to right now, just in terms of people working in digital platforms, working on communications, working against the communications culture war that we're in the midst of. So it's lots of great content. I like the work in there. We will definitely, we've already invited Bay Area Playwrights Foundation to come back, to come and present how they did their stuff. I just wanted to give them a week to rest and recover. The answer is the same for Lear. Like, we want to invite folks, but somebody said something that sparked an idea in me. So we're experimenting. We're experimenting on how do we share knowledge effectively with each other outside of the confinements of capitalism, capitalist systems, outside of the confinements of higher education systems that say, oh, you're only allowed to have this information if you go through these systems. And we're also figuring out how you best do this remotely. Every time we do something, we learn from it. We know that we care deeply about making sure people who share knowledge are compensated. We don't want to create extractive exchanges. We also recognize that equity and equality aren't the same thing. So sometimes splitting the pot isn't actually what equity means. So we're allowing our collaborators to work out what those levels of exchange are amongst themselves. All of the donations that were brought in for that OBS 101 class that we held, those are all going to Ian and Alvin. I'm recognizing that that OBS 101 was really dope, but we not only needed a 101, we needed a one-on-one. So we're going to be holding, I'm not sure when we're going to fit this in the weekly schedule, but we're creating an hour-long one-on-one lab, which will be a chance for us to enter into space. It won't always be with expert practitioners, but it'll be with folks who have at least basic knowledge and can work it out together at the same time, because that is, I think, would be a useful thing. But I'm also curious about how can we create an opportunity for folks who share their knowledge to maybe get compensated in some kind of donations way. So I'm just adding that idea to the mix in the pot for further discussion and ideas. I have, let's see, I'm going to copy paste this link right now from our notes. So I had mentioned last week that we are a, what do you call it? A tech co-op. So I'm putting here in the chat a link to the Mentimeter. Mentimeter is not the only company that does this. It's just the one that I like and have a subscription to. And Calling of Justice shares its subscription with all of the members of the of our tech cohort. So this is us inviting you to try this out. We took inspiration from Sabrina's question of duration and what are the best durational times. The way this Mentimeter works, and I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully I'm not going to accidentally share things I shouldn't be sharing, but I think this should be fine. Okay, so just going to go to, here's the Mentimeter, and this is how I set it up. So it said, this is our producing in pandemic group. We did a durational, oh, and look at this, folks are already filling it out. And if we want to, this is live and will be live for 2 days. So folks could continue adding information to this particular very silly, simple poll. And then I can hit present. And then here we are, and we can all see the thing that we're creating together in real time. So it looks like many of us are comfortable being online for an hour. Not many of us are super comfortable being online for 6 hours. These polling results indicated something I think we already knew, but this is us just giving you an example of the types of ways you can use digital tools to allow us to feel like we're all creating something together, even though we're remote and far apart. So that's a platform. I will admit, I think it's way too expensive. So you have to do it in coalition with others if you really want to use it. So which is why I'm like tech co-op. If you want to use mine, you're invited. I would love to hand the microphone over to Tanya, if this is a good time, to the enterprise version for many of these things is usually or the pro version is usually in a $300 a year price point. So these are often like you've got like a price point for the individual user that gives you a functionality that's not very good. Then you have the functionality that is good. That's $300 a year to have all of the functionality that you actually want. But then that requires, if you want it to make sense, working in collaboration and sharing it with a lot of folks. I would love to hand the microphone over to Tanya now to share a little bit about Kiko, since we were discussing some other ways of trying to connect together and gather together. So I'll let you talk more.
Great. Hi, folks. Tanya here again. And I'll invite Patricia to either interrupt as I go and or build on the end about having been part of a conference through Kiko Chat as the person who introduced me to this. And I know that there was some resistance in the room about this being like a new platform, which I feel it's both new and familiar, particularly if you're a facilitator who's been connected with open space technology as a way of facilitating. They've got a big community online and some information online as well. I know them through the Art of Hosting, which is artofhosting.org if you want to learn more about that. But the concept behind the thing, for those who aren't familiar with it, is that it's meant to be a self-organizing community, so that the way that you are at a conference, which I love that Claudia, you earlier brought us right into that conference feel of like, do I go here, do I go there? And yeah, being the new kid at the poetry festivals has been a feel sort of like what you described. So in this online space, Kiko Chat, which is maybe a misnomer, but I don't know what else I would call it. And if I have an idea, I guess I'll tell Lucas, the guy who welcomed me to it and who designed and was also, like Claudia said, like bringing us right into the code. I got to see him working on the HTML behind it, which was super cool and nerdy. So he's designed it as an open space technology facilitator. And the reason I don't think it's fully new is because it's integrating Zoom with a facilitation technique. So that's what I would say the big concept is. And just because Claudia was just saying something about the free amount and then the broken, I like that concept of selling us a broken thing and then charging us to get it fixed, sort of. Which is a really great reason to have a tech co-op, because, that capitalist model works when you have lots of people who need the fix. But if we were collectively organizing, it makes sense that we're sort of resisting, the hegemony of places like Facebook, or, maybe it's not the right model because they're charging in a totally backhanded way. In any case, I'll show you what this looks like in just a moment. I'm just trying to make sure that it makes sense, and it is free for the first 1,000 minutes. After that, there are charges per person. So it's 1:40. I set up an event, as you can see on my screen share here, for 1:30 p.m. Eastern time today. So that's where I am here in Toronto. And I set this up actually so that we could use it, which maybe we will do in a new Monday, but not today, as we're not exactly ready to have like a conference. But I think actually it could be a really cool thing once we're not afraid of the new the new idea here, because it is Zoom. So when you click on the green buttons, you'll get into different Zoom places. But I created these breakout topics just sort of ad hoc based on what are some of the things that had been in our conversations. And I think if we were to use this on a Monday, we would, create our own topics. So if Claudia was going to be the leader of conversation in this room, and I was going to be here, and Patricia was going to be here, et cetera, folks can come and go as you please. So if you've done the pro thing that Claudia has done, and I've now tried myself of using 2 devices and going in 2 different digital spaces at the same time, it's kind of overwhelming. And if you only have 1 device, then you have to toggle one on and one off and go in and out, which is sometimes easier and other times more difficult. With this, when you click the big green button, you are in a space that integrates chat. Maybe this is where they got Kiko Chat from. Oh, I don't know if you saw that there were 2 people who were not part of our group, as far as I know, who RSVP'd to this event that I set up. Oh, look, one of them is here. I wonder if I should go talk to that person in room 1. So these are the breakout rooms. And originally I had thought that we could set up multiple breakout rooms and let people go between them, but it takes a lot of facilitation. Let me break that up. As a facilitator running the space, you would probably need multiple tech people to be able to have the support to move people. I'm pointing with my finger, but I need to use my mouse. So if I was the tech guy on this call and we were running a conference here, this person could come out of this room into the main room and say, hey, Tanya, I want to go into the Zoom Fatigue Pro Tips room. And then I could move this person, I don't know how they identify, into this room. And vice versa. If there was someone here, they could come into the main room and I could put them in here, etc. But that's a lot of human power, and it doesn't allow for self-navigation, which is what this platform does. And as you're in each of the rooms, you can see what has happened in the conversation. I put this here as a header so that people knew that this wasn't a full live event, but I linked them to our notes and our resources. And if I click this, I won't be bumped off of this call. I've done a test as far as I know, but you should see a Zoom pop up if it's showing you. It's giving me openzoom.us. I assume that this will mean I'm bumped off of our call. Although perhaps I should invite this person over here to our call. Oh, maybe can I do that? Live, go into room 1. So if I click this, what I'm hoping will happen is I just go into this space, which is sort of the container before. So this is where I would go into Zoom and I would get bumped from our call. But here, want to join us on a real call? Is that what you would say? Does anyone know the link to our producing? Okay, I think I got it. And not that that's a fake one, but live, that's the word I should use. Okay, let's see if someone comes to join us. That would be interesting. So I hope you get the main concept. I don't know how many questions I can answer. I'm happy to try. And again, Patricia has used this live. I brought up the cost just so that if you're like me and you get really, really excited about it, like maybe you're someone who wants to try it out for those first free 1,000 hours. If you're an educator or you're someone, a theater company who needs to do something to scale, maybe you don't want to learn a new thing. But for me as a facilitator, it's very exciting to know that this infrastructure already exists. So yeah, Kiko Chat, you can sign up. And Lucas, it seems to be still very small scale. He was very, very helpful. And I've already asked him to come to one of our future calls here so that we can learn more. Patricia? or I'll check the chat for questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Folks, let me take a few minutes just to talk about my experience with this. I participated in a major conference in the UK in the end of May with Kiko Chat, and I was excited about, as Tanya pointed out, the fact that you could move from space to space without any interaction through the main room. I want to contrast that with the experience I had at the Playwrights Foundation social mixer, which was awesome, but every time I wanted to leave a breakout room, I had to like say goodbye to everybody and then go out and talk to the PA that was out there that was sitting by themselves in the main space and have an awkward conversation with them and then go to another space. And this is a very different experience. It has been being used by Improbable Theater. Philip McDermott is one of the main artists in that, and they have been running this conference called Devoted and Disgruntled live in Britain for many, many years, and this is the first time they did it online. And as you can see, they have reports here about convenings that have happened before. They have an explanation of what open space is, and one of the things I found to be most helpful about it was I could freely move, as I said before, but within each room there was a whiteboard. This was not the day that I was actually participating, but these were some of the topics that people were amongst the conference democratically saying, I want to talk about this. And then you would get a little icon like an aardvark or an elephant, and you'd like, I want to go see what this Anna Poole in the elephant room is doing. And just like a real conference, you could go in that room, look through the glass door and say, okay, look the looks of these people that they've got it going on, and go in or pop out. And like, I need to split my time between Anna and Kit. And there was these reports, as I said, are online now. They're available to other people. And what I was thinking about, what I'm excited about, is the possibility of doing an interactive performance piece so that you could actually go in and engage with the scene. A little bit like if you guys saw Sleep No More, and if you were lucky enough to see that, which was loosely based on Macbeth and based in a large hotel, old broken down hotel in a rundown part of New York. It had like 4 different floors, and you'd go from each room and you'd see a different part of the story. And I thought, wouldn't it be fascinating to use this platform both for a conference, but also as a potential interactive performing space where every audience member had agency and a unique experience of, I went 3, 4, 7. Oh, I went 1, 2, 3. Oh, I la. And there's this main space that's always held. So anyway, I've been excited since May to share that. I'm so glad Tanya did the labor of contacting them and finding out about prices and stuff like that. And I will shut up now.
Oh, you're good, Patricia. I just wanted to jump in really quick. And I'm glad actually that I waited to speak till you spoke, because you brought up the Playwrights Foundation mixer. And I had a slightly different experience with it, which I thought was an interesting solution. But what they did, I think I don't know if it was intentional that like the other ones, they didn't do this, but for a lot of them, they would just assign all of us co-host, and then we all could move around, which eliminated the awkward conversations with the like facilitator host person. But it does take still, like Tanya was saying, a lot of people power, because they had this team of amazing fellows and interns who could station themselves kind of one per room and kind of be that moderator or support. But I did love the flexibility of just, and then you could click on breakout rooms like and see who was in each room and be like, oh, maybe I will go say hi to that person or whatnot. But yeah, if somehow I had an issue where like my Zoom crashed and I came back in and I did not have co-hosting ability, and then I got stuck in a room and like I like couldn't figure out how to connect with someone who could. But as Patricia said, like worst comes to worst, you go back to the main meeting and then they reassign you. But I thought like, as much as it's amazing to see these different platform options, it's good to also see people like finding weird loopholes in the ones that we have been using.
That's helpful, Ariella, because I originally had hoped that there was a really quick and easy way to do it within Zoom. And my understanding was that only the host had breakout room powers. So it looks like I need to play with the backend settings to make sure that somehow I can enable both hosts and co-hosts to be able to see the breakout rooms.
And probably when we get, I mean, eventually Playwrights Foundation to come present, like if you don't, you would figure it out before then, but if you didn't, for example, I'm sure they could like share their experience.
Cool.
I do want to point out that open space, according to their spiel, can take up to 5,000 participants. And there was at least 250 to 300 on the event that I was participating in. So it's got potential to absorb a larger body of participants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am very excited to try the experiment of doing a full session inside Kiko, because frankly, the kind of exchange that we're doing, it's a lot easier to do it with open space on a platform that actually allows for open space technology. So deeply excited about that. So before I take us to our next moment, want to check in. Do we have anybody from New York City Theater of the Oppressed with us this week? I didn't think so. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing and skipping their moment. I have accidentally done this in past sessions where people were just really polite and didn't say anything. And I was like, you were here to present, interrupt me. You were all invited to interrupt me. We have on our next big experiment list is a breakout session, but we wanted to see if we could send you off into breakout groups to try out Culture Hub's Live Lab platform. So I'm going to talk us through what the experiment is. Then we're going to go do it. The first thing you're going to want to do is to make sure you have the link for this Zoom, because potentially having Live Lab and Zoom open on your computer at the same time is going to make your computer go, oh no, and you're going to have to shut Zoom down. But we're going to want you to come back to let us know how it went. So make sure you have the address to get back here. I put a link to the address for this meeting in there, in the chat. You're going to go into your breakout rooms. Each one of you is going to attempt to start your own separate Live Lab session. So that means one of you will launch it and get the specific address. And then you're going to take that specific address and share it with the other members in your breakout group. And then that should result in the three of you being in your own separate Live Lab. If this experiment fails in one way, we might all end up in the same Live Lab. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're actually going to be in separate ones. So that's the experiment. We're just inviting you to try it out, test it out, play with it for 5 minutes, and then come back. Does that sound like a fun experiment? And do we feel like we are equipped to do it? Brilliant.
Say it again.
All right. I'm about to say the directions all over again as I'm doing them. So this website that I am copying, the culturehub.org Live Lab page that I'm just putting in here, that's the main website to get directions, etc. The link I am about to post, livelab.app, that's the link that one of you in your breakout group will launch. Then you're going to take that address and share it to the other folks in your breakout group so they can join you in that specific Live Lab that you created together. So I'm about to split you off into like 4, probably, 4 breakout rooms and invite you to launch a Live Lab session, try to join it, be comfortable with any failures that happen, and then come back and let's name And I'm going to invite that you come back to this Zoom address at 11:05 my time, 11:10 my time. Let's do 11:10 my time. So 10 after the hour, let's return back here with our learnings that have taken place in Live Lab. Ready for an adventure, my colleagues?
Just so everyone is aware, there's a very high possibility of feedback, so watch your ears. Just so you're aware.
Thank
All
you.
right. I just got here. Should I go?
No, you're fine, Michaela. Hello, welcome. No, everybody's
Hello.
we're about to do a wild experiment, but we're sending folks off. Enough folks have heard the directions for this little experiment that you'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay. And this is an experiment for us as well to find out, do we have the ability to send folks off into breakout rooms to test platforms? So, breakout rooms. Going to send you into just 4. And
As a keener, quick note, I already launched a live lab and automatically your video and camera are there. So just mute, so we don't get feedback, mute your audio before you send the link out.
all right. I'm about to hit create breakout rooms. Any questions? All right. I will see you at 10 after. Oh, once again, my poor program design has me sitting in this room all by myself. That's not good design. So what shall we do to fill this time? I played on Live Lab yesterday and had a really fun time on it. Let's see if we can do some research on digital rights for streaming, since folks were talking about that. See if we can find some resources. All right, so I'm definitely going to have to invite somebody who knows more about this than me to come share with our group about digital rights management. There seems to be an entire matrix of businesses and companies that exist solely to manage the digital rights of certain properties. And then, of course, we've got folks in SAG-AFTRA who are probably coming up at SAG-AFTRA as well as Equity that are coming up with new and different ways of managing this. All right. We're going to have to schedule some time to talk about this in the future.
story of a woman named Julia who was bringing up very lovely girls. All of them had beauties like green and gold.
Oh my
The
gosh.
youngest one was Cordelia. Here's the story of a man named Foster who was busy with two boys of his own. They were three men, all related, yet Edmund felt just so. Till the one day when he went to split up the kingdom, and the ruling began to grow. And Edmund framed his mother and his father. That's the way this classic play sets about.
Oh my gosh.
One day when Cordelia returned from France.
All right, that's enough. Okay, that's hilarious. That's amazing. I'm in love with that. All right. Just figured that while we were chilling, I would test. So we had said we weren't sure what was being shared here. Looks like Allied Media. Keeping
I am planting what I can't imagine and what I can. This wild, disabled imagination. A mobile, accessible, safe house and free brown dirt where we can breathe, where we can root, where we can fly free, where we can live and love each other.
We are harvesting the dreams of generations of abolitionists.
We are harvesting new worlds without the police, where we address harm within our communities, amongst ourselves.
We are lovingly planting the seeds of sovereignty and harvesting abolitionist futures. Our people are free.
And meditations.
As an Indigenous people, we discuss and renew understanding of clan
Nice.
systems that help people know our
Allied
specific
Media.
responsibility.
Lovely, accessible, beautiful. All right, it's now time for our folks to return. And yet I want to see if it's possible to access the festival offerings remotely. How would you do it? How would you? Well, these are plays. I see links to the plays. Digital program. Oh, wait, here we are. Just scroll down. There's the launch party. Lovely. I'm trying to see if I can get to their other programming. Oh, you know what? I'm guessing if I just
my name
go
is
here,
Dani.
huh? If I click this, what do we got? There's the launch party, conversations. Look at that. Fascinating. Lovely. All right. Well, we're going to hit stop share and invite everyone to come back. Okay. Close the room. There we go.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Breakout room 2 is back in the main room.
Hey.
And my computer is sweating a little bit less now that there's only one video.
Yes, that's my first question. My first question is going to be, are your computers okay? Did any of them explode? Lovely. I'm glad folks' computers are all right. Every time I do this exercise, I also realized I leave myself alone in the main session. And then I'm like, what are you supposed to do with yourself, Claudia? So like, there's going to be some video of me being like, well, I guess I'll research this. Boy, that's complicated. I can't do this, but I'm going to have to find an expert on that. And then I ended up watching beautiful videos of I watched some very funny, the Leary Bunch from SF. That was very funny. King Lear is the Brady Bunch. Very funny.
That's a good one.
Fabulous engagement material. I enjoyed that very much. Yes, and if you go to the Allied Media site, you're going to be able to see everything. So I'm going to mute myself and let's see. I feel like, I don't know if we're all back yet. I don't think we've all successfully, have we? Yes, looks like we're successfully back. Excellent. So I'm just going to invite folks to share as they will. You are given no performative score for how to assess your learnings and share them. So this will be a free-for-all sharing. Feel free to unmute yourselves and begin sharing what happened on your end.
I'll just share really briefly, if you don't mind. I have to jump out of this call in a minute. First of all, the psychedelic feedback was a lot for Monday morning. But then like artistically, we were like, yeah, we could use this at some point. That was kind of fun. And then, well, Sabinna made some interesting observations about visuals, which I'll let her talk about. But I ended up being the host, and kind of some of it was very self-navigatable. And then other things, like I really wanted to make everybody a co-host, couldn't figure out. But I made outsource sharing happen, but then I wasn't sure, none of my other participants could see it, or we didn't really understand what to do with it. But I was successful in sharing screen, and we shared a Chrome link. I shared a Chrome link, and then realized that you have to actually click the link, the tab, for this call in order to visually return to your group. So that's what I learned. Thank you. That was really fun. And I'm going to say goodbye. And I look forward to reading the notes. Cheers.
We were questioning, we were moving the volume bar up and down. So the idea that we could probably bring, say, a soundtrack in as an underscore and then bump it for the end of a scene. But then Robert said perhaps that only worked in the producer, computer, and that an audience person would not achieve that. So is this something that you would pre-record a play with and then stream it because it's got a good hack around the audio issues?
I'm wondering, usually what you do is you just route the producer's computer through your OBS, and that's the main thing that the audience is experiencing. So I wonder if that's the workaround for that, because I'm assuming that Live Lab is useful for rehearsing and developing work. And if you're presenting work, then that requires either routing it through an OBS or doing a screen share. Those are assumptions I'm bringing to this conversation, though.
To follow on that, I wonder if Dani had a similar idea as I was having in a room with Sabinna and Peter, whereby I was saying that this could be really useful as like a tech room while a production is running, because you could be having no sound input into Zoom so that you don't have a chance to unmute yourself. And you could be watching the main production through the tiny little Zoom bubble, but you could be talking to each other, which is something that we've been able to work around with either texting each other or chatting in the Zoom room, or doing both, or using other platforms. I can't even remember all of their names, but to me, this was a kind of room within a room where you still had access to the main room. So that was one application I thought of for this.
It's actually super interesting that you brought up that. I didn't even get a chance to think about that, because we actually hit a huge accessibility issue. So unless you have a computer, I don't actually know if you can use this So if you're mobilely working on a tablet or a phone, you might not be able to use this because Mickey was on her phone and she could hear us through Live Lab. She couldn't see the chat and she couldn't see us. And I couldn't actually even see her as a participant in the Live Lab app. So yeah. So yeah. So there's that. I even looked on the website to see if it was like computer solely based. But we'll just have to work some more and see how that works. But that's a great idea to have it be a backstage.
I would just add that the sound integration for 3 of us on a computer wasn't seamless either. We couldn't hear each other. We had, one person come and go. So it took a little while. It wasn't quite as intuitive to pick up sound and video.
Yeah, this is Mickey. I literally was looking at a big, dark gray safari scene on my phone, and I've never seen a window like that. I don't know what it was. But I tried multiple times to get in and out. I do have an older iPhone and not the latest iOS, but that was my experience.
That's part of the point of us all testing these platforms together. I'm finding that digital accessibility is so much more complicated than physical accessibility, because you need to design accessibility for different browsers, different devices, different connectivity speeds. Yeah, so all of the challenges we experience are useful also because Culture Hub, they built this themselves. They designed this themselves. They started this process way before the pandemic because they were specifically attempting to create a platform that would be accessible for others or require everyone to have their own expensive accounts. I think. I don't want to speak for Culture Hub. So I'm wondering, does it feel like a platform that would be useful for people who didn't have access to Zoom or a paid Zoom account?
Do you know
Are there limitations on participants? Like how many people do we know can be in there?
Oh, I don't know.
Because that's a limitation, because if you're doing the free Zoom, you have limitations on what time and number of people, right? So making sure that if there's no time limitation or no people limitation, then wow, that would be huge.
Presumably you'd be able to mute participants upon entry the way you do in Zoom, because if you can't do that, then it's a totally disruptive space or a totally collaborative space. But from a production and performance point of view, you have to be like, hi, you're on candid camera in a play. This is the line that just happened. Now here's the next line. Let's go.
That actually sounds like a delightful performance to put together, but yeah, not ideal for all performances. I'm really curious about the backstage idea though, and using Live Lab as a backstage. When Ian was doing the OBS 101 class earlier this week, he was sharing that in the setup for the Indigenous Futurities performance, they had used Zoom as their backstage, and then they were performing using Skype. So each performer had 2 feeds on at the same time, so 2 simultaneous feeds happening, and the Zoom room was actually the backstage. Was it difficult for folks to have 2 streams happening simultaneously?
Not once. I learned to turn off my mic in one of them.
Computer-wise or human-wise, Claudia?
Both, actually. I think those are 2 different lenses that are useful for our purposes.
Okay.
Well, I'm curious. I'm a dirty bird with a dirty desktop full of papers, and I always have too many live windows open. And normally my computer can hang with that. It's like 2 years old, but it freaked out as soon as I put on Live Lab. I mean, the fan was going, I was shutting stuff down. So I'm wondering if it, for some reason, pulls more
And this is a larger question for folks as well. I had this exchange with someone, I think yesterday. All of our computers are dying faster than they normally would. And she and I were dialoguing because I was like, why do you think our laptops are dying at the same time? Have we been using them more than we normally do? And we were like, no, what we've been doing more is Zooming more.
Yes.
We've been using video streaming more. How are your computers doing? Do you think your computers are getting broken by the amount of usage that you're forcing them to go through?
One thing that I was really thinking. Oh, sorry, Erin. Go ahead, Erin.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if this is really relevant to anybody else, but I'm one of those people who always has like 100 tabs open, and I'm not exaggerating, like literally 100 or sometimes more tabs open. And so I am constantly crashing my computer because of that. And so I also have, I think I have like 10 gigs I have like some tiny little amount of space left on my computer too. So it crashes very easily, and it didn't have a problem with Live Lab at all. I figured I'd be the first person to crash, but it didn't. The fan didn't go on, didn't have any problem. So it might, I don't know. I had a different experience than other people.
Yeah, mine held up okay too, but what I was finding with a laptop, and I found this a lot during the OBS workshop, the toggling back and forth, I can't keep track. So I was trying to like have Alvin and his settings and examples on one half of my tiny screen and then my own OBS on the other half, and I just couldn't see. So I would like try to remember what he'd done and then go over to the OBS. And if I know that, you know, when we're doing our broadcasting, RTD has three monitors, and our director has 2 monitors going on. So I just thought about what if I could increase monitors, even if this old brick can hold up. I need more visual space.
That has certainly been the best investment I've made in the past, number of years, was having a second monitor. And even finding one that actually can rotate to be vertical format too, though not expensive, but also really useful.
I'm guessing we don't have any Twitch gamers in our conversation today, because that question often results in folks, like there's an entire conversation that can be had about what's the device that you're using? Are you on a Mac? Are you on a PC? And what are the different hacks or ways of using your devices to make one device really good at this, and allowing your other devices to perhaps hold multiple tabs and some of that stuff. So I know that I'm also someone that tends to open many tabs. I'm attempting to cultivate a new lifestyle where I end my day where all the tabs are closed. I'm not there yet. But I'm wondering, in this group, are people on Macs, people on PCs? What are the kind of computers that you're actually using?
We need a Mentimeter.
How about Mac users? Raise your hands.
I don't have it in me to throw together a Mentimeter that fast, but that's exactly what it's for. So next week, we're going to do some surveys and find out what are the devices. Are we mostly on Macs? Are we mostly on PCs? What are the reasons for our logics between using those different hardware choices? In our last moments together, are there any final discoveries, reflections on the work or conversation we've had today? Brilliant. Well, I am a big fan of not filling time because we feel that we have to. So I'm going to end us a full 3 minutes early. I know. Enjoy the 3 minutes. That's for you. And I'm going to now officially hit stop on our recording.